Hi, my name is Dana Golden, and this is Introduction to Environmental Economics. Uh, so, the way this is going to work is I'm going to create a series of what I hope will be reasonably short videos on a YouTube playlist, and you can just watch them in sequence. And hopefully, by making them a little bit shorter, it will work better for the younger generation. So, who am I? My name is Dana Golden. I'm a fourth-year PhD student at Stony University. My research focuses on electricity markets and energy transition. I previously worked as an economist for the USDA and the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission as a data scientist for the Treasury. So if you want to, you can talk to me about transmission. I have thoughts on nuclear energy, industrial organization, and how to find a job. That last one's very important. This course is not about saving your souls. This course is not about making you better people. This course is about helping you become participants in the market economy. I want to provide you with skills you can talk about in interviews and take to potential grad schools and employers. Ideally, you'd also learn a lot about environmental economics, and you'd also develop a passion for environmental economics as a field. But at a minimum, I want you to feel like you can, with the skills you've learned here, take them into the world and do things. Education is not about just learning things and saying that's cool. It's about turning those things into actions. And if there's any way I can help you achieve that goal in finding a job, if there's any resume look at or, interview help, just let me know. I really want to help move you towards finding jobs, hopefully in the field of environmental economics, but wherever you want to go. I want your goals and career success to be my goals and career success. So, what is environmental economics? Environmental economics studies how the economy interacts with the environment and how to manage natural resources in a way that meets human needs while preserving the environment. So let's break that down a little. Economy interacts with the environment. You have this thing called the economy where people are doing buying and selling. People have these supply and demand curves. And in most of your classes, you say, here's supply, here's demand. They meet together in equilibrium, and that's just it. Here, we say, well, but what about the thing they're trading? It turns out that thing they're trading is made of stuff. And turns out that the stuff is taken from the environment. And then it turns out that the stuff goes back into the environment. So what we're thinking about is, well, how do we continue to have an economy, have that supply and demand curve? Because we want people to be able to buy food and heat their homes and live their lives. But we also don't want to destroy the earth. We want to have people to be able to do that long term. And so environmental economics thinks about how to keep this delicate balance going long term and maintain a world that allows for continued functioning of the economy and survival of the human race and the animals that live on this world. So environmental economics has several focuses. It focuses a lot on externalities. One thing I think helps you think about like what a field is about in economics is, well, what assumption does another field in economics make that this field addresses? So almost always when you have a field in economics, other than micro and macro theory, you have some sort of assumption that field questions. In terms of industrial organization, it questions the idea that markets are perfectly competitive. In the terms of health economics, it questions the idea that humans can know everything there is to know about a good. People don't know like what the good is really. In terms of labor, it questions how people make specific decisions. And in terms of environmental economics, it rolls back the idea that the only people who are affected by a transaction are those who are directly participants in the transaction. So that introduces the idea of externalities, where people are affected by the transaction who didn't participate in it, and how do we think about the effects of transactions to others. We also think about resource allocation. We acknowledge explicitly in environmental economics that there aren't unlimited resources, and that you're going to run out of things. That's not something every branch of economics does. And so we think about, like, how should we make these decisions for the long term? We think about the impacts of imperfect information. It's becoming a bigger and bigger part of environmental economics because there are increasing climate events that make there a great need for insurance markets, and make it important to think about how uncertainty and risk are thought about in an economic context. We question the assumption that you will have a market to value things. The truth is, there is no real market for a good environment. You have carbon credits, you have renewable energy certificates, you have these things that, like, maybe slightly mirror the environment, and you can buy and say, well, this is a good that thinks about environmental quality. But the truth is, there's no real market for that. So the question is, how do you value something that there's no market for? How do you value a chocolate bar that no one is buying or selling? And that's like a very weird question in most of economics, because most economists assume that there has to be a market and there has to be choice data to use in valuation. And we think about cost-benefit analysis. Environmental economics is a lot about providing you a framework with a way to think about the costs and benefits of climate change, and how to think about making decisions about these very difficult questions. Economics can't tell you what to do. It can't say this is good and this is bad. Spoiler alert, am very opposed to climate change. I don't like it. I think we should do whatever it takes to stop it. There are not a lot of people who would disagree with me that climate change is bad, but there are many who would disagree with me that we need to work really, really super duper hard to stop it, regardless of the cost. So economics doesn't have that opinion. It doesn't say climate change is bad. It doesn't say climate change is good. It is neutral. And, you might say, well, why don't you, if you're so opposed to climate change, why don't you embed that opinion in your research? And that opinion educates how I go about my research. It educates the questions I ask. But economics specifically is neutral, and it has to be neutral. When we do cost-benefit analysis, we're throwing away our outside opinions, and we're saying, if these assumptions hold, mathematically, this is true. This is what my model says is true if these assumptions hold. And that's powerful. Other people can say, I have opinions, but we need to have the ability to have a conversation about objective facts and hand policymakers a toolkit for thinking about things without needing to rely on subjective opinions. And finally, there's a lot of focus on natural resources and commodity market economics. This course is set up as one half environmental, one half commodity markets. And so the second half will look into electricity markets, futures markets, how to think about commodities and natural resources. It's a pretty applied way I've set up the second half of the course, which I think will be very helpful in your careers and to you personally. So why is environmental economics its own class? I think this is a question that anything that's not econometric theory or microeconomic theory or macroeconomic theory has to answer. Why not? Why can't these questions be answered just using the straight up tools from macro theory and micro theory? And the answer is, we need an understanding of externalities and cost-benefit analysis. We need an understanding of what happens when you're not a party to a transaction, but you're affected by the transaction. And we need an understanding for how to think about issues like climate change and issues like pollution where there aren't really markets. We focus on the interaction between the environment and the economy. Most economic models extract away from the environment entirely, and we think specifically about how these two things interact. We take seriously the notions of non-renewable resources and impacts of market actions. Most economic models say, well, there's an infinite amount of resources, we just need to use them in the production function. We specifically say, you have this much. You'll run out of oil one day. You'll run out of natural gas one day. You'll run out of lithium one day. You only get this much lithium. How do you make sure to take care of that and use it to the best of your abilities? And, finally, environmental concerns have become more important globally from an employment perspective. This is becoming more and more of an issue. And these are conversations that are happening everywhere on Earth. And, it's both a privilege and a responsibility to be able to be a part of a generation that's dealing with such a big and important issue like climate change. Why environmental economics matters? I think we touched on this. Resources are not infinite. Economics has an interesting value to add to the issue of climate change. A lot of people won't listen to sociological arguments, won't listen to arguments about, well, the earth is just valuable. A lot of people, for better or for worse, don't really listen to non-economic arguments. But if you can make the case to policymakers and to business leaders that actually it's good for business and it's good for the country and it's good for people to take care of the environment, it's a lot easier to make that case. Traditional economics has odd discounting ideas. In traditional economics, this idea is a discount rate of 0.05. Next year is 95% as valuable as this year. But when you do that, it turns out that in 100, 150 years, things don't matter. You don't care about over a century or a century and a half from now. So environmental economics thinks about how to think about long-term ideas. So you think about, like, how do we value our children, our children's children, without throwing out our own well-being. And we only get one Earth. This is a very special place we live on, and this is a very special time. If we destroy the Earth, that's a huge loss, not just to us, but to the entire universe, because there aren't that many places like this, and it's a really special place, this blue and green marble that provides us with such amazing resources and such a great quality of life. So in terms of topics we're going to cover, we're going to start off with externalities and market failure. We're going to go through non-market valuation and cost-benefit analysis. We're going to look at imperfect information in insurance markets, how to insure against all these increasing climate disasters. We're going to look at cost-benefit analysis. Maybe some tools you can talk about in interviews, things you can put in your resume, things you can put in your LinkedIn profile. Say, I know how to do LCOE. I know how to perform discounting. I've heard of techno-economic analysis. I can think about the distributional effects of policies. And we're going to talk about the economic commodity markets. We're going to look at commodity market supply and demand. We're going to look at commodity market derivatives, electricity markets, and energy market policy. I'm going to give you a language you can use to analyze these kinds of markets and hopefully talk to people about how electricity markets and natural gas markets work. And then finally, we're going to talk about analysis of environmental data. Where do you find data? How do you analyze data? And what is a geographic information system? And these are very useful tools that you can take with you throughout your career, regardless of where that leads you or what you do. You'll be exposed to non-market valuation. I'll show you a little bit of R, in particular discrete choice modeling in R. I'll talk about geographic information systems. I'll talk about analysis of commodity market derivatives, commodity market portfolios, and electricity markets. And then I'll talk about cost-benefit analysis with basic framework, applications of risk, net present value, LCOE, sensitivity analysis. These are all things you should be putting on your resume, and you should be telling potential employers, I did these projects and I did this thing that I can also do for you. And I hope you're going to learn a lot of skills here. And finally, grading is a necessity. I need to grade you. Grades are not all that important. I am not really focused on the grade. I'm focused on your individual performance and learning. But as you'll learn later on in the class, there's a principal-agent problem where I need to provide the grades in order to make you try, in order to encourage effort. So there'll be 5 homeworks, which will be 50% of the grade. There will be a midterm, everything up to commodity markets for 25% of the grade. There'll be a final, commodity markets and electricity markets for 25% of the grade. You can choose to do either the final and the midterm or the final project, which will replace the final and the midterm. You can figure out more about the final project online. The description is uploaded. You have to communicate me at least before halfway through the course about what you want to do on the project, because the project, I want to make sure that I've set you up for success and potentially making a good grade on the project. I don't want you to do the project and find out, actually, this isn't what I want. So yeah, that's really, I look forward to this course. I hope it's useful for you, and I hope you come to office hours. I'm going to make an effort to hold office hours once per day on Zoom so that you can meet me and ask any questions, and I'll be answering questions via email. And yeah, I hope this is useful for you, and I hope you have a great day. I'll see you at the next video.